Let's talk.
John Brown.
A midlife less ordinary, from ultramarathon insanity to rowing the Atlantic at 50. You know, when you hit your 40s, as I did several thousand years ago, you kind of think you're going to slow it down, take it easy. I don't know, maybe take up gardening, paint the garden and gnomes. Model railways are an option. Not for my next guest, because he decided that rather than slow down, he's put it he turned off the afterburners. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Peter Wright. Peter, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, I mean, listen, my chapeau is being doffed to you, sir, because, you know, one of the great things about social media is you go onto social media, the people you relate with your classmates, you know, when you were 14, 15 and the whole thing. And you look at some of them and they send pictures at Christmas and they're all wearing the same Christmas onesie on the sofa, watching celebrity come down dancing on ice, MasterChef, whatever. And you think, you know, they obviously took the middle-aged pill and then became very, very boring. On the other side, you go full whatever and you buy yourself a sports car. You, Peter, decided not to do that. Explain.
Yeah, it was a bit of an accidental journey in becoming you could say an endurance athlete, in inverted commas. I mean, I've always enjoyed sport, more from a recreational standpoint, you know, bit of football, bit of squash, which was pretty much the case until my mid to late 30s. And then I got the running bug.
Right.
A bit of I guess you could call it a midlife crisis. I wanted to do like a marathon. So I did London Marathon and did that a couple of times. And it was the second one where off the back of it, I decided to enter quite a big ultra marathon called the Marathon des Sables.
Oh, yes.
And that is really where it started for me. It was kind of entry into that event. And
so for those who don't know, the Marathon des Sables, what is it?
It is 6 marathons in 6 days in the Sahara Desert. So you're carrying it's not only a running race, it's you carry all your supplies for the whole week, and you bunker down with kind of 7 other like-minded souls in a bivouac, which is like a tent in the desert each night, and then you go again the next day.
Like I said, model railways, Peter, might have been a more sensible option. I mean, it's a hell of a step, isn't it, from doing the London Marathon to doing ultra marathons. And that first night, under the beautiful night of the Saharan stars, you must have thought, what have I got myself into?
Oh, I did, especially when the tent collapsed in the middle of the night on us. So that was that really did get me thinking, what have I let myself in for? I think one of the little wooden poles keeping it up collapsed with the winds, and it fell on my poor mate's head, I think.
But it wasn't. So it wasn't. Did you do that? I think I'm not going to do that ever again. Then you went. Because you go from Sahara to the tundra. What's going on there then? You know.
Well, after the Sahara, you know, I kind of did, I kind of reflected on it in the hotel after with all the other guys and girls that I did the event with. And I just loved it so much. I kind of loved the build up to the event, all the practice events I did before, and all meeting like-minded souls, and definitely lit a fuse. So I was just naturally, or maybe unnaturally, thinking, what next? What could I do that is going to challenge me like this, but maybe a little bit more? So that my focus was, you know, I'd kind of turned to a similar event to Marathon des Sables, but in the Amazon jungle.
Oh, right.
Which would be 2 years later. So that became my main area of focus. So again, 6 marathons, 6 days, but this time in the Amazon with all the lovely things that the Amazon can throw at you. But sleeping in a hammock this time.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to be on the floor, do you? Just in case it's bad enough getting sand out of your bits and pieces when you've come back from Sahara.
Yeah,
but...
you got lots of nasties out there. You know, you got like bullet ants and spiders galore. And
what's a bullet ant, Peter? Just to frighten me.
Yeah, it's very much like a big ant.
Yeah.
And if it stings you or bites you, apparently the pain is like being shot.
Okay.
So it's apparently, hence bullet ant. And unfortunately, if it bites you the once, it doesn't die like a bee. It's there to sting you again and give you a few more.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, brilliant. Super. What's it like running? Presumably, you're running along the Trans, what's it? They don't just say, there's the Amazon, off you go.
Well, we arrived in like a town in Brazil, and then we got a boat into the middle of the jungle. So we're pretty much with living with a tribe for a little bit,
Right.
and then we were literally starting in the middle of the jungle and working our way back to civilization over 6 days, in a trail that was marked by tape hanging off trees.
Okay.
So it's kind of following the tape basically all the way back. We didn't really have maps or GPS or anything like that.
Right.
It was part of an organised race. So they could tell where we were, but we were very much left to our own devices. I mean, in hindsight, it's probably the most terrifying and dangerous thing I've ever done in my life. But at the time, it was pretty good.
They can tell where you are because of the scream as you get bitten by yet another bullet ant, presumably.
But there were lots of things that happened in that event. It was it's probably one of my more dramatic events, should we say?
Yeah. Well, but what about the tundra? Was that running along the edge of the Arctic Circle or something? What was that? The tundra.
That was Arctic Sweden.
Yeah.
So that was a few years after the jungle. That was 2018, and that was again similar format. They all seem to be quite a similar format of like 5 or 6 marathons over 5 or 6 days, and off to Arctic Sweden, and dealing with temperatures that went as low as -45 one day, which happened to be my birthday actually. So I was kind of thinking, why am I not partying with my mates or something like that?
Quick question. If it's -45 and you're doing an event that you have to exert yourself in, keep it quiet, keep it clean at the back, but you know what I'm saying? So presumably you are exhaling, you are sweating, you are trying to get oxygen in. At that temperature, isn't it congealing? I mean, what's the deal there?
You got to be quite careful with your layering, because you want to get a balance where you certainly don't want to be sweating too much, because that causes you just as much problem.
Yeah.
If you sweat too much, then the cold's going to cause you other issues. You just have to get the balance right, and that's, practicing with your layering. So I had a good merino wool Arctic base layer and a good kind of down jacket over the top. Mm-hmm. And I just have to kind of regulate my speed and just try and keep it fairly steady.
What's the hardest day when you're doing? I mean, one marathon would wipe me out. So what's the hardest if you're doing sort of 6 marathons in 6 days? I suppose the first day it's adrenaline in the bars. Second day, pretty much. Is it day 3 and day 4 which were the real sort of killers?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be the first couple of days as you get used to it. Funny enough, the more you get into the event, your body gets used to what it's doing, and it just kind of the body just goes along with the mind. So I always find probably the first couple of days just whilst I settle into a new climate or a type of event. Yeah.
So presumably you've got that balance you're talking about, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you think, I'll do a marathon and I want to I've got the balance right in the whole thing. I won't do an ultramarathon. I'll just do a normal marathon. But that's a bit too easy now. So I'll do a marathon whilst dragging a car.
Yeah. I mean, I've become a keen fundraiser on my home in New Jersey, and at the time on this one, I was sort of racking my brain with a really good fundraising idea that I could maybe do for a charity I was supporting. And I think I paid a visit to my parents back in Dorset, and I saw a guy on TV dragging a car marathon distance. A guy called Russ Edgley. He's a real famous chap for anything endurance, and I just kind of thought, what a great idea. So I decided to do the same in my home island of Jersey. The only trouble is we don't have much in the way of continuous road in Jersey. So I had to find the one bit of flat road I could find and drag the car up and down it for 26.2 miles.
Then begs the question, what car was it?
It was a smart car, so it wasn't huge in appearance, but it did weigh a ton. And it was hard work, so to speak.
A very good friend of mine, I used to play with rugby with Marbella Rugby Club, and good morning to you, Chris. He does nutty things like that. He once did the whole of basically, 36 miles with a fridge on his back full of beer. But the beer was very important, he tells me. But dragging a smart car is something else.
Yeah, and I had to, for the first couple of laps, I had someone sat in the car as well doing the steering. Just which, but after
Helping out. That's good. Yeah.
After the second lap, I kicked them out and just got someone to kind of poke their arm through the open window and stuff that way. Getting a bit too much.
What's the charity, by the way, Peter? What charity are you helping support?
At the time, I was fundraising for Macmillan Cancer Relief.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot for like local charities in Jersey, but sort of cancer related charities are the main ones.
Jersey, it's a beautiful island, well known. Except presumably you are obviously notorious in Jersey by now because you are.
I'm getting a reputation. Because I've got an event coming up in about a month and a half, and that seems to be kind of enhancing my reputation.
So that's the land-based covers, right? And then you decide, well, there's a big, you're being an island surrounded by a sea. You must have thought, there's a potential for doing. Yeah, come on. What got into you this time?
Well, along the way with all the running stuff, you get to meet a lot of people, both locally in my home island and, doing events. And there's a guy called Steve Hayes who lives in Jersey as well. I've become, very, very friendly with him. Good mate. We've done some events together to include the jungle one. And it was his idea, so I'm going to blame him. So he just sent me an email out of the blue, putting the proposition to me about rowing the Atlantic. So I looked at the email and was horrified. I was just like, I'm not nautical, and I knew everything about the Atlantic. I'd read about Fogel and Cracknell doing it, and but also the curiosity got the better of me, and I kind of thought, if I don't do it with Steve, then he's going to find someone else to, and I'll be insanely jealous. So off the back of that, I just decided to give it a go.
So talk me through it, because obviously this is a hugely different proposition to something on land. Because
and the starting point really was, I didn't know how to row. I'd never rowed in my life, apart from maybe rowing a little boat across a lake, once or twice. So we had to both learn to row. But what the challenge is, it starts in Spain. So an island called La Gomera off Tenerife.
Yeah.
And you row non-stop to Antigua in the Caribbean. So that's a distance of 3,000 miles. The time it can take you to row can be anything from, I'd say, about 40 days to all the way up to 100 days, depending on your luck, your fitness, the weather. So we did it as a pair, and it ended up taking us 54 days non-stop living on the boat. The boat is the size of a boardroom table, I'd say. But it's no bigger. You've got a single cabin that you share, which is the size of a cupboard. And you have to develop like a shift pattern where you generally row. I would row for a couple of hours and Steve would get his head down and kip, and then we'd swap over. And we keep doing that for 54 days until we hit land the other side.
If the covered area is the size of a cupboard, what happens if the weather gets bad and you both have to snuggle up?
The weather did get bad, and we did both have to snuggle up. So,
are you topping and tailing, darling? Is that you get to know you?
It was probably the most single dreadful experience of my life, and we had to do it for 4.5 days solid. We were unlucky enough just before Christmas to hit some bad weather. A pocket of bad weather, and we were one of the most northerly boats in the fleet, so we got it the worst. And it resulted in us not being able to physically row because the conditions were so wild, and we both had to live in that stern cabin for 4.5 days.
Was there illumination? Could you see outside? Because I'm just thinking about being next to a certain male, and then if it's enclosed and it's dark, you're going to be disorientated, and then you're going to be sick. We
had the boats that you row in are solar powered.
Yeah.
So you've got some big solar panels packed around the boat, so you can get like power.
Yeah.
So we could get lighting inside as long as our batteries were powered up. We had some very tiny air vents, which were helpful to a degree. We had a couple of fans in there, which again were solar powered. But it just doesn't touch the sides when you've got two grown men with sweating, all the moisture kind of flying around. It was, yeah.
To be honest, I've been in some clubs in Torremolinos, which are pretty much like that. But that's another story. Let's move swiftly on. You said a fleet. Yeah. So was this part of an event? Then it wasn't just you. It wasn't just you and him going. Okay, Antigua. Last one by
an organised race. It's called the World's Toughest Row. They do 2 rows per year. They do a Atlantic row and they do a Pacific row. So we did the Atlantic row. The year we entered, I think there were about 35 teams entered.
Wow.
Teams ranging from people doing it on their own, so solo, all the way up to teams of 5 people, and we went for the pairs category.
The thing about rowing, and I've had boats in my life. It's repetitive, isn't it? It's that. Yeah. I mean, I suppose because you've been doing ultramarathons, and here comes the science, putting one foot in front of the other all the time.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much the same thing with rowing then? Basically, you just have to.
Yeah, and I think you adapt it to whatever sport. You're right with running. You go one foot in front of the other, do it again. And I think with rowing it was one oar, 2 oars, pull, 2 oars, pull, and just get into it. The good thing about the ocean rowing is we did club rowing for a year so we could learn to row.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technique attached to that. But when you're sat in a big ocean boat, you don't have to worry too much about technique. It's really just about, placing the oars and working your way around the waves. You have to adapt it.
Should we talk ocean life and half submerged shipping containers?
Yes, ocean life. Well, I mean, in many ways, lots of pluses and minuses, really. The good on ocean life, I found were, sunrises and sunsets, evening rowing, the stars in the sky, encounters with wildlife. We had dolphins and whales early on. We didn't get an awful lot after that. We had dolphins and whales in the first few days, and we thought, great, this is it. And then we didn't really get a lot else afterwards.
Yeah.
Thankfully, no sharks. You've got to, I say, the bad is it's just physically, it drains you and mentally. You lose a lot of weight out there. I went on the boat at 91 kilos. I came off the boat in Antigua at 76 kilos.
Whoa.
So you do that, and despite you've got your food packs of 5,000 calories a day. So despite 5,000 calories a day, I was in a significant deficit, which resulted in losing all that weight. And you need to jump in off the boat every now and then. So you always have yourself harnessed to the boat and on for safety reasons. We'd have to jump in, probably every day to clean the underside of the boat. So clean the hull, because barnacles and sea life attaches it to the hull of your boat, and it stops you moving quickly. So we'd be taking it in terms of our snorkels on to jump in and clean the underside. Always, when you jump, was interesting because you'd initially open your eyes, have a look down, and just check there was no gnashing jaws coming towards you or anything like that. But I mean, there was loads of admin to do on the boat. You're always cleaning, fixing things, tinkering with things just to keep you going. And we had a lot of equipment malfunction. Our GPS went down pretty much from the first couple of days. We don't know why, so we had to pretty much do it by manual compass a lot of the way. Our electric water makers, this one of the most vital bits of kit on the boat, which desalinates salt water to fresh water, also packed in.
Deep joy.
Yeah, so we had to resort to using the manual water pump, which achieves the same thing, except you had to do it yourself. So rather than come off the oars and have a rest, you'd sit there at the back of the boat pumping away. So we had a lot of challenges out there. And to include, I think, we had a close encounter with kind of a few ships. One of it at night where we just didn't know if we were on a collision course or not. It looked like we were. The fact our GPS was down at the time gave us even more issues. So we kind of had to resort to techniques, taking bearings off the boat to the vessel and getting reference points and, kind of fixing that to where the other boat was and trying to call it on the VHF radio.
The ultimate RYA sort of yacht course under pressure.
Yeah. But often with these boats is, I think, a lot of them are manned, but they're just on autopilot.
Yeah.
So I suspect the captain of this vessel had his feet up, snoozing with a can of Heineken in his hand at the time, whilst we were absolutely panicking on our boat. But in the end, we ascertained that we weren't on a collision course. We were going to be nowhere near each other, and panic avoided. But yeah, it was an interesting evening. That.
How good did Antigua look then when it hove into view?
Yeah, it was amazing. Steve saw it first, and I think I was rowing at the time, and he pointed it out, and it was quite surreal actually. You just get used to being out on the water, just seeing nothing but sea every day, and then it's just you suddenly see land, and you just start anticipating all the things that you're gonna see and experience that you haven't done for the previous 50 odd days.
Rum mainly, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, we took rum with us.
Oh, okay.
We took, I think on the flight out, we went into duty free and we bought a couple of bottles of rum. We figured that's what sailors do. So we were going to embrace the...
Pirates, you mean?
Exactly, yeah. So we always actually, on a Sunday night, we down doors and the two of us sat together for 15 minutes and had a couple of shots of rum and reflected on the good and the bad of what had happened. The only downside was, the plus point was whoever was rowing next. Well, sorry, whoever was sleeping next had a good 2 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Or sort of had to row after the rum. It had a really challenge.
So, why the book, Peter? I mean, apart from it's a rollicking good read, etc.
Yeah. Sorry.
Why did you write the book? Why do you think? I mean, it was just
it was almost like a reflection of when I was stuck in the cabin over Christmas, a couple of days in, I just sort of almost start reflecting a lot on the events that maybe brought me to my current predicament. And I sort of thought back, there have actually been a lot of events, a lot of stories, and a lot of them quite amusing stories. So I just thought the idea of getting a book to tell the story of the row and what came before could be certainly something I'd like to tell. If anything, just to show it to my family in future years. And I just thought it would appeal to the ordinary person, like the average Joe or average Jane that wants to maybe do things, even if it's a bit later in life.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because people are saying, we live in a culture that's dominated by youth, quote unquote. And, and as I said before, they get to 40, people think that's it, get the model railway out and the slippers and it's all over. And that should not be the case.
No, and it shouldn't. And I found with getting into, particularly on the ultramarathon world, there's a very mixed range of people that do it. There's no stereotypical kind of person that does it, like a young, fit person. There's all sorts of people, kind of young, middle-aged. I see people with nearly 80 years old doing multi-day ultramarathons and running past me very quickly each day. So it's very much, I think it's a lot of the reason I found, maybe why I didn't do things like this before were just self-imposed limitations. It was kind of the mind just dismissing, saying, I can't do that because I wasn't sporty, or I'm too old, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. Whereas the mind telling you, why can't you? And maybe almost breaking down those self-imposed barriers yourself.
The book is called A Midlife Less Ordinary. From ultramarathon insanity to rowing the Atlantic at 50. It's by Peter Wright speaking today. Peter, social media, website, where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm on under my name, basically, Peter Wright, on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm Pete Loaf 73 on Instagram, so very active.
And what are you up to next? It begs the question.
Yeah, I have decided. It was something that was in my mind before the row, and I had to postpone it. But I'm going to try and do 7 Ironmans in 7 days, in 7 consecutive days. And this is coming off the back of, I've never done a triathlon in my life, to be honest.
Oh, well, then there you go.
It feels entirely natural too. But no, I've been training for the best part of the year, learning particularly on a lot on the cycling front. So come the 4th of October, I'm going to be giving it a go in my home island of Jersey.
Peter Wright, thank you so much for your time today.
Great. Thanks for your time.